If you're a veteran, there's a good chance that you have sleep apnea, whether you know it or not. It's also a condition that if you get it service connected is worth more than $1,000 per month. But guess what? This is going to be the only video you need in order to win sleep apnea before it gets all but taken away. I'm Jordan Anderson with VAClaimsAcademy.com. That's what we do. Let's get straight into it. If you find this video useful and valuable, like the video, but more importantly, send this to someone who needs it. So, sleep apnea. We're going to cover so many things in this video. It's going to make this process so easy for you, even if you don't have it diagnosed at all right now, or, if you've never had it diagnosed during service, even if you've been out of military service for multiple decades now, that's no problem. I work with people like you every single day. I'm going to show you how to win this as a claim, and I'm going to prove it to you as well, because in this video, I'm also going to be giving you for free all the scientific evidence that you actually need to win these claims, and also proof of veterans who in the past have won these exact claims as I'm laying them out for you with the path. So I'm really excited about this video. Let's get into it. Sleep apnea, we have our sleeping cat here, essentially, and this is where people get confused, right? There's a difference between sleep apnea and insomnia. So don't let people tell you that, oh yeah, when you go to your sleep study, just drink a Monster and don't sleep. They'll diagnose you with sleep apnea. No, sleep apnea is a respiratory condition. That means they're checking you, right? When you go and do your sleep study, they're checking you for what is called events, which basically are instances where you stop breathing, okay? That's why we say, you stop breathing. So that's why we say OSA. We're talking about obstructive sleep apnea, meaning your airway is obstructed and you stop breathing when you sleep. Quick side note here, this has nothing to do with your VA claim, but if you have sleep apnea, especially severe sleep apnea, you better wear that machine, because that is one of the easiest ways to shorten your lifespan is to stop breathing while you're sleeping. Lots of bad stuff happens. So please wear your CPAP or APAP if you're prescribed one. That's another important note. The VA rating for sleep apnea typically is a 50% rating right now as it stands. What do you have to have for that to be 50%? Well, you have to have, your doctor, you get a sleep study done. So that's the first thing to do. You get a sleep study done, you get diagnosed with sleep apnea, right? Your doctor has to essentially prescribe you what's called a CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure machine, or they might call it an APAP, which just means it's an automated version of it, automatic positive air pressure machine. That is the only criteria as of this video, as of the recording. That's the only criteria you need for 50%. All right. So keep that in mind. Does that mean you have to use the CPAP? Technically, no, you don't have to. Okay. You should, but you don't have to for your VA rating. This could be changing soon. This could be changing to where, they're trying to talk about, okay, if you're not using your CPAP, or if your CPAP helps your sleep apnea, that you don't get that 50% rating. And that's why you need to do this now, right? Get this process started now. By the end of this video, you will be able to. Let's break down real quick before I go into, exactly how to, get these claims and all this stuff. Let's break down exactly how to go about claiming this. A lot of these conditions are going to be secondary claims, right? Due to the nature of, you probably haven't had this diagnosed during service. This is probably something that you have, but there's no way for you to get service connected in your mind. I'm going to show you how to get this service connected through a secondary claim, and we're going to start right here. What do we need in order to win this? We need a diagnosis, right, of sleep apnea, and I'm going to show you how to win this through a secondary claim, which means that we need what's called, I'm going to say CC, for a causing condition. Let's think about that for a second. What condition could have been causing your sleep apnea, right? Because we know that there's probably not a good chance, since you don't have sleep apnea in your military records, you could throw a Hail Mary and try to get these buddy statements of the, people in your unit that heard you snoring very loudly, heard you gasping for air when sleeping in the barracks or whatnot. That's a Hail Mary play, right? So usually the route that you would want to go at this point, especially if you're decades removed from service, is to connect sleep apnea to another causing condition. Now, this causing condition has to be service connected. pardon the abbreviations, but I hope we're tracking here, right? This is obstructive sleep apnea. So we know that if we're going to get this rated, we have to have a diagnosis for it, right? Because otherwise the VA is going to say, hey, what are we supposed to be rating you for? You don't even have a diagnosis, right? So we have to have a diagnosis for sleep apnea. Let's say our causing condition, which we're going to get into, there's numerous conditions that could cause sleep apnea. PTSD, other things I'm going to cover right now in a little slideshow. And I'm also going to give you the scientific research that you can use in your own claim right now. We have to have a causing condition. How do we connect these? By the way, again, your causing condition must be service connected, because if you're connecting the sleep apnea to a condition that's not service connected, your sleep apnea is not getting service connected, right? The whole point is that we want the sleep apnea to be service connected by the VA. So if you're currently rated for one of these causing conditions, then we want to connect. What is the connection? What is this line that connects the sleep apnea and the causing condition? This right here is called a nexus. Now, I'm going to explain what that means, but a nexus essentially is an opinion from a doctor, right? Stating that it's at least as likely as not that your sleep apnea is connected to your service, or in this case, connected to a condition that is already deemed service connected by the VA, meaning that you have a rating of 0% or higher. 0% or higher. Let's get into the science here as to how this works, okay? Now we know exactly how to claim this. What's one thing right off the bat that if you're service connected at 0% or higher and you have sleep apnea, you can win your claim? How about GERD? Gastroesophageal reflux disease. This is, you have indigestion, maybe you have trouble swallowing at some point, you're regurgitating your food. This is all, GERD-like symptoms. If you're rated 0% or higher for GERD, you can win sleep apnea. How do I know this? Well, first of all, we have the science on our side. All these links that I'm showing you are going to be in the description below. Don't worry about reading this. I'll read it to you. I know it's a little smaller here, but this is from NIH. Okay, so National Library of Medicine. This is from PubMed. Everything that I'm bringing to you is peer-reviewed literature. A lot of this, usually we say for clients, but sleep apnea, is changing probably very soon. And I want to make sure that you just have the ammo to go ahead and claim this if you have sleep apnea. The relationship between sleep apnea, hypopnea, that's tough, syndrome, and GERD, okay, a meta-analysis. So I'm not going to read this, of course, but just know this is supporting peer-reviewed scientific literature for you to be able to utilize as part of your claim. You could do that in a couple of ways. You can actually, download that study and send it in with your actual claim on va.gov. You could just label it as other correspondence in the dropdown if you're filing online. Or you could also, have a nexus letter template and include this on your nexus letter template in order for your doctor to sign. More on that in a bit, because I have a way for you to get free nexus letters as well. But how do we know this is going to work, Jordan? Right? Well, also, I'll link this as well in the description below. And again, you are not going to be able to read this, right? So don't worry about it. But this is a appeal, right? This is the Board of Veterans Appeals process. Trust me, you do not want to go through this process, but luckily someone else has for you. And in the court of law, essentially, or this process, the Board of Veterans Appeals Court, right? July 26, 2019, the veteran's sleep apnea is aggravated by his service-connected GERD. By the way, if you would like for me to personally help with your VA disability claim, click the first link in the description below or the pinned comment. There it is. That's a finding of fact. And that's how you know that this is an actual viable path, because a lot of people are going to tell you, oh yeah, you're ringing in your ears. Go ahead and, file your sleep apnea secondary to your tinnitus. It's like, good luck. I've seen like one person win that, and I've helped thousands of veterans with their VA claims. I've heard of that once where a client has won that. So these are actual winnable routes. Let's go next, right? What about, this is a big one. Again, sleep apnea, worth more than $1,000 a month. What about sleep apnea secondary to your knee, secondary to your back pain that you have from being aerosoled and, doing rappelling, your back pain that you have from jumping off of heavy equipment, jumping down from it, from road marches, from ruck marches? What about from your flat feet, plantar fasciitis? Any condition that you have service connected that led to your weight gain, your obesity. What about, sleep apnea secondary to your depression, secondary to your eating disorder, whatever has made you overeat, whatever has made you obese? This is a winnable route. Fellow vets, this is as close to a catch-all as it can possibly get, right? Obesity is the main risk factor for sleep apnea. How do we know this? Again, through the scientific studies. We don't want to guess here. We want to bring everything possible to the VA, PubMed, National Library of Medicine. What do we have? Sleep apnea and obesity implications for public health. Okay. And this clearly demonstrates peer-reviewed literature, the connection between sleep apnea and weight gain. This claim, I want to go ahead and pull this on the board here. This one is a little bit different. Jordan, you are so messy. I want to structure for you how this claim works because it's a little bit different than a normal secondary claim. So clearly, we have our diagnosis for obstructive sleep apnea that we got through a sleep study. Now we have our causing condition down here, just like before. But in between these two, we cannot really directly connect sleep apnea to your knee, right? Because how does your knee directly cause you to stop breathing when you're asleep? Doesn't really make sense, right? That's why I don't like sleep apnea secondary to tinnitus, y'all. I don't like it. Here is the kicker. Please let me spell that right. Obesity, right? Boom, looks good. I love it. We're going to use obesity as what is called an interim step. All that means is that rather than directly connecting obstructive sleep apnea to, remember, CC is our causing condition, the condition that causes our sleep apnea, we're using obesity, putting that right as the middleman here, so that our causing condition actually causes the obesity, which causes the sleep apnea. I hope that drives that home and makes sense for you, okay? So our knee caused obesity because I can't get out and run as much, or my depression caused my obesity because I'm not motivated to go hit the gym. My back pain caused my obesity because I'm unable to exercise properly, or my medications. What about that? What about that? I have a condition that's service connected, and the medication that I take for that condition that is prescribed to me, one of the side effects is obesity. Okay? That is why, I'm getting chills. That is why this is, again, as big as a catch-all as you can possibly get, using obesity as an intermediary step in order to get to sleep apnea. What do we need here? We need, of course, a solid personal statement, right? If that is a new word to you, you need to watch my channel a little bit more, or someone else, Combat Craig. But anyone who makes VA disability claim videos, if they're good, they're going to be talking about personal statements, okay? Most of the time, your free VSOs are not going to tell you about personal statements, and it will be a huge disservice to you. You need a solid personal statement that translates your true story into the VA's language. What else do you need? You're going to need a nexus letter. How do you get nexus letters? Click one of the links in the description below, or just go to freenexusletters.com. That's a great way to give yourself the best chance for your own doctor to sign what's called a nexus letter for you. Again, what is that for my new people? That's a doctor's note saying that they believe that your condition is caused by your service. Or in this case, your condition was caused by obesity, which was caused by a condition connected to your service. Woo, I love VA claims. Sorry. Okay. I think that's about it. That's going to be the structure for how to get obesity, to be your interim route that gets you the service connection, of sleep apnea, let's move on, are going to be able to be a causing condition for you to claim sleep apnea secondary to. Interestingly enough, asthma and sleep apnea actually impact the severity of each other, okay? That's been found in, you guessed it, the scientific studies. There's links to these in the description below for your own use so that you can get paid real cash each and every month the easiest way possible. Asthma and obstructive sleep apnea, more than an association, okay? Good old PubMed. Does it get better than that? What else? Successful claim example. Yeah, oh, that's great, but can you actually win it? Well, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we have, what is this? This is archived in 2017, entitlement connection for sleep apnea to include secondary service connection to asthma. It's actually winnable. That's a big one. Moving on. What else? What about sleep apnea secondary to deviated septum? I see a lot of my clients who have deviated septum. Seems very common. Sleep apnea secondary to deviated septum is a very high win rate route to go, okay? Deviated septum can cause sleep apnea due to a blockage and narrowing of the airways. You might hear that a lot as we talk about this. Here's our study. Sleep apnea syndrome treated by the repair of a deviated nasal septum. So they're saying that, hey, repairing the deviated septum might help the sleep apnea. So that's implicitly, talking about the sort of pairing, the correlation, maybe even the causation of deviated septum to sleep apnea. Very good. Can you actually win it? Like I said, personally, I know seeing clients, I've personally seen this one quite a bit. And again, here's just more proof from you from 2020, actual Board of Veterans Appeals court process where a veteran has won. Good enough. We got some good ones coming up. How about you Gulf War vets, right? How about you vets that have been around the burn pits? They're burning human feces, gasoline, tires, engine parts, right? Everything. You take turns, you take shifts, burning things. This has probably caused you already know, maybe even asthma, but maybe not asthma, maybe COPD, maybe allergic rhinitis, maybe chronic sinusitis, right? These, again, are respiratory conditions. This increases the risk of developing obstructive sleep apnea through those, blockages of the airway, that mechanism that we talked about a little bit earlier. This could get you a 50% rating. So let's say even if you have a 0% for rhinitis, even if you have a 0% for sinusitis, this could get you a 50% rating attached to that. That's why secondary claims are so magical. Actually, I'm going to do a video all on secondary claims pretty soon. The linkage of allergic rhinitis and obstructive sleep apnea. This is for you. Use these PubMed studies, okay? You don't have to go out and find them. They're already right here. Use these in your claim. By the way, you're going to want to start this claim now. Whenever you have something where they're talking about, hey, we're going to change this rating coming up, you want to put your intent to file in ASAP. I'm talking about today, right? Start your intent to file. February 2019, we talk about allergic rhinitis. And it's proximately due to the result of the service-connected allergic rhinitis. Okay, so we won service connection right there of the sleep apnea due to that rhinitis. You get the picture. All that's linked for you. Last one's here. Sinusitis. I'm not even going to open this up. We just talked about the rhinitis. Same thing. We have the scientific literature. We have the winning appeals case. The nasal passages close off and block the airways when you're asleep, right? Anything that affects your breathing, is going to still affect your breathing while you're asleep and is likely going to be a cause of that sleep apnea. And that is it, okay? So we have and we understand what mechanisms we can utilize in order to sort of claim sleep apnea, Okay. We also understand that you need a diagnosis of sleep apnea. You can't just say, hey, I think my wife says that I stopped breathing. That's awesome. But don't tell the VA that. Tell your doctor that. Or don't tell your VA rater that yet. You know what I mean? Tell your VA doctor or tell your private doctor so they can schedule you for a sleep study. Without a diagnosis, we don't have anything to connect these causing conditions to, right? So if you don't have a diagnosis of sleep apnea, how are you going to connect it to something? It doesn't exist. It only exists in reality, and that's not good enough. It has to exist on paper. Fellow vets, I really hope this helped you out. Again, most important thing is to share this with someone who needs it now, because this could be taken away very soon, and they could be talking about, hey, your machine has cured your sleep apnea, and that's not a good thing. I want you to get rated for this as is, to where if you have sleep apnea, you get rated for sleep apnea. It's very simple, and I hope this video really helped you. Cheers, until next time.